Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of SpongeBob Now. Today, I will be talking about No Weenies Allowed, and Squilliam returns. First, I'm going to talk about No Weenies Allowed. Enjoy. One day at Goo Lagoon, during their karate match, Sandy dominates SpongeBob like a punching bag with her overwhelming karate skills and sends him flying so far he ends up at a place with a group of strong men waiting in line for something. SpongeBob flies into one of the strong men, who gets angry, thinking SpongeBob is a piece of paper. He turns around to see who threw the paper at him, and SpongeBob gets scared because the man is intimidating and tough. SpongeBob covers it up by hiding until Sandy comes and he comes out. Sandy comes and asks what they are standing in line for, and the man says they are waiting in line for the Salty Spittoon, the toughest sailor club in Bikini Bottom, which only the toughest fish can get in. The bouncer, Reg, allows Sandy in, as she is one of the toughest fighters in Bikini Bottom, but rejects SpongeBob because he is too weak. Reg suggests that SpongeBob should instead go to Weenie Hut Jr.'s and then Super Weenie Hut Jr.'s, much to SpongeBob's annoyance and humiliation. SpongeBob tries other methods, like telling him a story about how he painfully stubbed his toe while watering his spice garden and only crying for 20 minutes, wearing a wig to disguise himself, and posing as a tattoo on a man's arm. A drifter sponge shows up and Reg thinks it's SpongeBob in a wig, but the real SpongeBob shows up with a clown wig and Reg lets the drifter in. Finally, SpongeBob goes to Weenie Hut Jr.'s. The patrons talk about special days at the restaurant and the animatronic server meanly calls SpongeBob a weenie, annoying him in the process. The patrons then suggest ways for SpongeBob to prove his toughness and gain entrance to the Salty Spittoon. SpongeBob figures that the quickest way to do so would be to win a fight, but since he is not very strong, he decides to stage a fight with Patrick. The fight with Patrick is supposed to be the latter letting him win. They sling insults at each other to make the fight seem more realistic, but SpongeBob meanly calls Patrick Tubby, angering him and leading him to angrily attacking SpongeBob. The latter reminds him that he is supposed to let him win, and Patrick proceeds to beat himself up as if there were an invisible person attacking him, even flinging himself into the background. Reg becomes amazed about SpongeBob beating up Patrick without even touching him and finally allows him to enter the Salty Spittoon. A joyful SpongeBob runs inside the club, but he clumsily slips on an ice cube and accidentally falls, happens off-screen, leaving him injured and putting him in the hospital with Sandy accompanying him. He is initially admitted to the Bikini Bottom Hospital, but while talking to the doctor, he refers to his injuries as boo-boos. The episode closes with the doctor suggesting that SpongeBob be admitted to Weenie Hut General instead, much to the latter's shock. Next, I'm going to talk about Squilliam returns. Enjoy. On his lunch break, Squidward encounters Squilliam Fancyson with a group of his sycophants. Squilliam asks Squidward what he has accomplished since high school. Squidward, panicking of imagining for what Squilliam looks like in his underwear with the human body, tells him that he owns a 5-star restaurant. Squilliam tells Squidward that he and his friends will come to his restaurant tonight, and Squidward is very shocked, frightened and nervous. He begs Mr. Krabs to let him have control of the Krusty Krab for the day, and after Mr. Krabs plays a sad song on the world's smallest violin literally, then he explains that Squilliam is coming. Mr. Krabs accepts, because he knows that Squilliam has money and wants to stick up for his employee. Squidward attempts to train the Krusty Krab crew to turn the establishment into a fancy restaurant. Thinking that he is joining the corps, Patrick appears in the restaurant awaiting orders and is given the job of collecting the hats. SpongeBob, who does not know how a waiter works yet, is the waiter, and Mr. Krabs, who says he once served on the SS. Gourmet, is the chef. However, things do not go well. Patrick is beating up the hat rack because it will not give him its hat, and Mr. Krabs makes terrible food such as cooked peas still in a can from the oven and an appetizer that has fly wings and more filthy things. Mr. Krabs also says that he only worked as a janitor on the SS. Gourmet and was actually the head chef on the SS. Diarrhea. Lastly, SpongeBob cannot handle the copy of How to Become a Fancy Waiter in Less Than 20 Minutes that Squidward gave him. Squidward tells SpongeBob to clear his mind of everything that doesn't have to do with fine dining and breathing. SpongeBob's mind, which is metaphorically portrayed as an office, is operated by smaller SpongeBobs. Their boss's assistant tells them that he just got an order: dump everything that is not about fine dining and breathing. They begin to get rid of all documents, which represent SpongeBob's knowledge, until SpongeBob just stares into empty space in a catatonic state. Squidward runs outside and bumps into Squilliam, who is just about to enter. They both go inside and see that the Krusty Krab has been transformed into a very fancy 5-star restaurant. After sending all the customers to their tables, SpongeBob tells Squidward that he did all of this, and that he has tied up Patrick and Mr. Krabs in the kitchen as punishment. After his meal, Squilliam admits that he is impressed and asks SpongeBob what his name is. However, SpongeBob cannot remember his own name, having discarded it along with everything else, and inside his mind, all of the little SpongeBobs try to find his name, but to no avail as they panic, ultimately resulting in his brain snapping in half, and it's all because of Squidward for telling him to erase all memories, but forgot to tell him to stop erasing the memory of his name. SpongeBob goes completely insane, mindlessly spilling food on patrons and grating the posteriors of others. Still tied up, Mr. Krabs and Patrick run out of the kitchen being chased down by the appetizer the former made earlier, which has turned into an evil living monster, and it also has a human foot. With this, the fancy facade is ruined, making the Krusty Krab's true nature unveiled. Squidward has no choice but to tell Squilliam the truth, that he actually is a cashier, and everything was just an attempt to impress him. However, Squilliam then confesses that he is also a cashier too, and that he lied about being rich to upstage Squidward and beat him. Squidward asks if this is true, but Squilliam reveals that he was just kidding, and he really is filthy stinkin' rich. He and his crowd leave the restaurant to ride in his balloon casino, leaving Squidward dejected and defeated once again, but not before Mr. Krabs comes in and plays him a sad song in the world's smallest violin, which annoys him a lot, making him request in anger to leave, as the episode ends. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. Goodbye everyone.